Hello and welcome back to the Public Eye Business Podcast, brought to you by Granite Exchange. I'm your host, as always, Sarah Travers, and throughout this series I'll be speaking with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how their companies have come to be, to gain insight into their growth and find out, crucially, how they continue to innovate. So wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for all new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. Well, today in the studio, I am joined by Samara Prentice, owner of Evolve by Samara. Samara, it is great to see you because we go way back.
We do indeed,
back to your
Sarah.
Tiny Life charity days.
Absolutely, long time ago.
But you're looking as stylish as ever, which is why you now have Evolve by Samara. Before we begin, I'll do the background bit. So Samara established Evolve by Samara in 2017 and quickly gained a reputation for excellence. She has delivered life-changing, transformative results to clients across the UK, Ireland and as far afield as Germany and the United Emirates. She works exclusively with clients who recognise the value of investing in their personal presentation. So Samara's focused expert advice and style recommendations are delivered to mentor, educate and build confidence in a supportive and non-judgmental environment. Evolve by Samara is now an award-winning business created to help clients to rebuild their confidence, raise their visibility and their true potential. Samara, we have to start with a little bit of background first of all, because as I said, I met you a long time ago when you weren't doing this, but you definitely had an eye for the style. So tell us a wee bit about yourself.
So I am Samara, mum of 4 and wife to Paul, first and foremost. But yes, I am the very, very proud owner of Evolve. And Evolve, I suppose, started off in a very, very different world from what it actually is now. It's probably evolved, real cliche, beyond my wildest dreams from its inception in 2017. And, you know, back then I never would have dreamt that 5 years, a short 5 years on, that I would be serving essentially an international market.
When I did meet you, because I was actually an ambassador, patron for Tiny Life, the charity for premature babies, and you were working there and we built up a relationship there, and I remember just always looking at you and you were immaculate every time I saw you, but that visibility, that presence, that confidence, it was very much, style was part of that, and that's what you realised. I mean, you had something there and you realised you could help others with that who were seriously lacking, like myself. And I remember a couple of times going to you and saying, I have a formal or a function, you know, can you help with some advice? But when did you realise you were good at this?
I suppose I always knew. I knew that I had an eye for detail, and even whenever I've invested so much in training over the years, and that was what I was always known for with my tutors and with my mentors, and now with my clients. They always said, Samara, just know it's the attention to detail. It's innate. It's in you. But back in the day, back whenever I was 17, I worked in Cookai. Do you remember Cookai?
Oh, yes, I remember you from there as well.
Yes. I'm everywhere. I've had many lives.
Yes, Cookai was great.
Yeah, and you know, I knew the power of putting together a good outfit. Obviously, we were shown how to put together outfits. And even at 17, I knew there was a real power in how clothes could make you feel, how it could raise your confidence levels. And it's actually a thing called enclothed cognition. So it's a real thing. And I have a real interest in the psychology behind how we dress, behind image, behind how we're showing up and how that really impacts the confidence and the visibility in an individual. So yeah, it was in me from I was very, very young.
But it has become a thing, and perhaps it wouldn't have been a thing. You wouldn't have heard about stylists, maybe with celebrities, but not for regular, everyday people. So how did you turn that idea or that sense of style and fashion and what works and what doesn't into a business?
It's funny because whenever I was younger, I actually wanted to be a fashion designer. Very few people actually know that. And then I followed, and I don't know if you actually know this, I followed a career into TV. Very randomly.
It doesn't surprise me.
And then fell very accidentally into event management. But anyway, I loved the events, the PR. I loved my job, but everything has a life cycle. And I think you fall out of love with aspects of your work. And I really craved the freedom to be creative, to work with people on my own terms. And I knew that there was a massive, massive issue with confidence. And I mean, more so now than ever before.
Oh, do you think so?
Oh, massively. I mean, I think that the pandemic has a lot to answer for. And I'm only really seeing the repercussions of that. Confidence was always low. And I see different trends in different areas I work in. You know, Northern Ireland, we're very humble and we are kept very small almost. And I see confidence levels, even, you know, a short distance down into the south, confidence levels are very, very different. So I did see that there was a massive gap with showing people how to show up as the most authentic version of themselves and, you know, really embrace their uniqueness instead of trying to hide it. And clothes essentially are an outward expression of how you feel about yourself on the inside. And it's really stripping away that feeling of, oh God, that's really, really vain. I can't look at that. Or that is something that somebody very rich or a celebrity does. I wanted to bring it to the real people.
That is really interesting. And as well, depending on how you've been brought up, you know, clothes and vanity and preening yourself in front of a mirror was nearly seen as, you know, what are you doing? Why are you so shallow?
Yes.
But actually, in terms of your own personal brand, this is a thing now. And I know something that you talk and deliver workshops on, but you've got to show up and you've got to dress for the job or dress for the confidence that you need.
Absolutely.
And that can differ between individuals. Just because you wear one thing doesn't mean it's going to necessarily suit the next.
Totally. And you know, it's interesting that you touched on personal brand. Personal brand is huge. And I really want to educate people that personal brand isn't just for professional people. Every single one of us. And it's what you're known for. You know, I often talk about it being your superpower. You know, your personal brand, and actually really looking at a personal brand and looking at your core values as an individual. As you say, coming back to childhood, your core values impact how you dress, how you walk, how you talk, how you might shake somebody's hand whenever they're meeting you for the first time. There is so much that is really impacted in how we dress and how we show up. And it's really to show people that they don't have to be invisible, that they can be the best version of themselves. And as well too, moving away from what will people think.
It's all about I've got a stylist.
Totally. And you know, some people, obviously my service is entirely confidential, so unless a client chooses to share they have been with me, it will never leave my lips. But by the same contrast, there's some people who love working with a stylist.
Exactly, and they're really proud of it.
Really proud of it.
And do you feel, I mean, we talked there about the transformation that can occur. Yeah. Do you really see that? Just, you know, tell me about a typical client, or do they exist?
Oh, absolutely. I have seen some incredible transformations, and it wouldn't be the first time that a client has started her journey, because I always talk about a journey or his journey, and they have came to me and they have maybe had a bit of an identity crisis, or they're feeling a little bit lost and they just need some guidance. It wouldn't be the first time I've walked into somebody's house and they've been standing with blonde hair and I've said, blonde hair needs to go, you need to be black.
Oh, just straight away?
Yeah.
And I mean, see that straight away?
Oh, I can see it straight away. I can see colours that work straight away. I can see where, you know, what kind of necklines work, what sort of dresses work. And I mean, at this point, I've actually worked with about 4,000 people.
Oh my goodness.
Like, crazy. I was doing a little bit of PR work, and the PR was able to tell me whenever she looked back and calculated it. And I worked with about 4,000 people, so I don't often need to get my tape measure out anymore. I can see, as soon as I see somebody, what the proportions are and what works for them. But as well too, we need to bring in personality. We need to, you know, looking at their, you know, career, if we are looking at the personal side or the professional side of things, we need to dress them for their profession. I was with an accountant this morning, and my accountant clients always say, make me look interesting. Ooh. Make me look creative. So with many of my clients, I take them on that journey. We set style goals, we set image goals, and the confidence, you know, is just incredible.
So literally changing that hairstyle, changing the cut of a neckline or a dress or a suit, and it can improve your performance and how you feel.
Absolutely. I mean, I had a client recently, a client who's been with me for about 4 years. Very sadly, she has breast cancer. So her confidence has really, really waned in recent times. And we do a couple of sessions a year. And in her last session, she said to me, Samara, what you have done for me is you have allowed me to open the door and say, world, this is me. and the confidence, the colours, she's just stepped into a whole new world that she just feels absolutely incredible. And you know, she's phoning me before she's going for treatment and saying, this is what I'm wearing today, because I'm rocking it.
Oh, that's
and it's
lovely.
incredible.
That is lovely, because again, that mindset and how you approach a challenge like that, sometimes it is literally putting on the game face. And you know, I know that from working in TV, there'd be days that you didn't feel like you wanted to rock up, but once you put on the favourite jacket or the favourite colour, there was always one that made you feel good.
Absolutely.
And your performance improved. You could not so much fake it till you make it, but you could show up and give a good performance. But sometimes that's all we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I'm there as a supportive hand as well, obviously in a professional, you know, capacity, offering expert advice and really, you know, encouraging people to feel like they're not on their own. I think that's really, really important, because we can struggle with confidence and we can think, oh, you know, I'm the only person in the world. There is nothing that I have heard in the time that I have owned the business that I haven't heard a million times before.
This podcast is sponsored by Granite Legal Services, a niche business and immigration law practice located in the heart of Newry City. Granite Legal Services provides legal advice to both individuals and companies alike across a wide range of industries, from employment, commercial or corporate law matters to immigration law. Granite Legal Services focuses on providing legally sound, practical advice to its clients. To get in touch, visit www.granitelegalservices.co.uk or contact 028 3026 2200. I wonder, would you let us into some of those insecurities that people have?
Yeah, I mean, menopause is a big one at the moment, and, you know, women are finding that their body shape is changing and their mood is changing, and maybe it's affecting their hair, and, you know, or quite often I will work with a woman and I'll say, these are the colours that work well for you, and she'll say, Samara, I wore those years ago and I've just lost myself. I hear that very, very often. Weight gain or weight loss is a big one. Illness is a big one as well too. Life crisis, things like being made redundant, separation, divorce is also a massive one. It's almost a time where people can reflect back and look at themselves, having time to look at themselves so that they can move forward in a new light, in their new potential.
So it's much more than somebody turning up and you designing their autumn-winter wardrobe.
Yes.
This is a therapy session.
Absolutely. You know, I often say I don't sell style, I sell confidence.
Oh my goodness, that's fabulous. So what would a typical consultation, if I was to come to you tomorrow and we were meeting for the first time, or how does it work?
Okay, so I can do it in several different ways. So I do in-person work, I do virtual work, which was born out of lockdown, which I know that we'll go into. But say if I was coming to you, I would be wanting to really get deep down and to learn who you are, to know what works for you, what makes you feel good, what makes you not feel so good too, in terms of, you know, your relationship with colour, your relationship with yourself as well too, because we find it so difficult to look objectively at ourselves. And I think that was actually the gift that lockdown gave so many people. They could actually sit and think objectively about where they were and who they wanted to be as well too. But, you know, back to a one-to-one session, I would be looking at, you know, what you do for a living, what your personality is like, and marrying that across into colours that really, really suit you. You know, asking you what your relationship is like with print, with pattern, to get a real feeling, looking at your core values as well too. You know, are you going to tell me you're a really adventurous person? Are you going to tell me that, you know, you're quite introverted? So I want to build a picture so that what we are presenting you in your personal presentation feels right for your personality. And the thing about this is, Sarah, this is all in you. I'm just pulling it out. It's subconsciously inside you, and I am just the vehicle that helps you to express that to the world.
It's such an interesting line of work to be in, and I love the psychology part of it, because I'm sure a lot of it too would be, somebody could say, oh, I hate prints, no, I hate that, and I love it, and I hate my tummy, and don't actually draw attention to my bum, and I hate this part of me, don't show my arms, all of these things. And then you might suggest something, and I love that when somebody pick something, I'd say, I'd never wear that. And you put it on and you go, wow, I'd never wear that, but I love it.
Yeah, I love that. I love showing people something that they would never do for themselves. And, it's interesting because we don't always say what we mean. So it has happened on several occasions where I've said to somebody, what's your relationship like with print? And they've said, oh, I hate print. I would never wear print. And I'll say, I'll kind of be teasing more out of them and saying, so there's none in your wardrobe. No, never ever buy print. Absolutely hate it. And they're maybe sitting in front of me in a floral dress.
Oh.
So they don't always understand, and I mean, there's so much. It is such an interesting world that you could go down a rabbit hole.
And when you even think, I'm just thinking, a pair of black trousers, sort of wardrobe staples. But there's a black dress, there's a dress, there's a dress shape, there's a trouser shape, jeans, honestly, I hate trying on jeans, but you always know the pair that you love. I have far too many pairs of jeans and all different sizes in my wardrobe. But I'll always go to the one that I know that works. What is that all about?
Do you know, it's quite funny because I don't believe in a capsule wardrobe. I believe in a lifestyle wardrobe. So it's what works for your lifestyle. Because, in a capsule wardrobe, you open a magazine. I don't know, do people open magazines anymore?
Well, sometimes I did. I read Red magazine last week.
Love it.
Others are available.
Yeah. Whenever we look at that, you'll typically find the little black dress, a crisp white shirt, a cashmere jumper. But let's get really realistic. And anybody who follows my social media knows that I am a realist. I want people to be conscious. I want them to be intentional with how they're dressing. I want them to have a little bit of thought in really what is an unconscious world. But, not everybody suits a white shirt because they mightn't suit white. They might be sitting at a desk all day. It might be very, very awkward. They won't feel comfortable. Others maybe can't afford cashmere or don't want the hassle of cashmere.
Yes, the hand washing or the dry cleaning.
Yeah, so, there is something for everybody. And interestingly, jeans are the first thing that everybody asks me for.
Find me the perfect pair of jeans.
I will. I will. Nobody ever leaves me without the perfect pair of jeans.
Is that right?
Honestly.
But then the styles change all of the time. Are we doing a skinny leg? Are we doing a boot cut? Are we doing a wide leg? Are we doing a cropped? Are we doing ripped? I mean, are we too old for ripped? Should we just leave that?
No,
I remember
such
a friend
thing.
of mine's little girl saw another friend wearing a pair of ripped jeans, and she was only about 6 at the time. She went, did it hurt when you fell over? And I thought, right, that's it. Ladies, we're not doing the ripped jeans. I have a pair now, but my daughter just doesn't agree.
Yeah. Well, what I would say with jeans is I am not a huge advocate of trends. So I would always say wear what suits your body shape. Mm-hmm. You can be enticed into trends and, the mom jeans were a huge trend and you're going to see very wide legs coming in. And if they don't work for your body shape, don't torture yourself.
Yeah, you might have to sit this one out.
Totally.
Let this one go.
Totally let it go.
Stick to what works.
And, a lot of people are saying to me now, oh, skinny jeans, they're all out. What am I going to wear
I know.
now? But the thing is, if skinny works for your body shape, skinny works very well for my body shape, you're not going to see me in a really wide leg jean. And similarly for my clients too, you're not going to see them in something that's not going to work. But interestingly, I have taken clients before and they've said, oh, I only wear skinnies. And I'm thinking, oh, it doesn't really, really work. Let's try some other alternatives. And every single time, 100% success rate, they come out with something different.
So it's men and women you do, but primarily women?
Primarily women. I would say I have about 200 regulars right now. I would say I'm sitting with about 7 or 8 men.
Gosh. Now, talk to me about business, because I think business in itself and the way we dress for business has changed and evolved, and especially over the last couple of years. I think, if you look at a lot of the tech companies or whatever, jeans are fine, dress down, Fridays have become dress down all of the time. But do you still think there's a corporate look, that power dressing? Is that still a thing?
So what I would say in terms of kind of corporate wear, don't feel like you need to dress down because the rest of the culture are dressing down. If you have been somebody who has always dressed up for work, I would still look at that. You might not want to go into the likes of power suits, but we can replace a power suit with soft tailoring, for example, which is still going to give you that feeling of that enclosed cognition, that feeling of power whenever you put something on that you really love. but you're still going to be comfortable. And again, it's looking at that lifestyle wardrobe. It's looking at, well, what are you doing every day? You know, I mean, for yourself, you're commuting. So you want to have something that you can put on whenever you're leaving home that isn't going to be totally wrinkled by the time you travel.
Linen is a no-no.
A massive no-no. But, you know, there's always great alternatives and ways where that, you know, pieces that you can wear and brands. I mean, I love spotlighting brands because, you know, we can get stuck in a rut of just buying from the same brands over and over and over again. And there are incredible brands out there and something that's going to suit every personality, every budget as well too. You don't need to have lots and lots of money to wear clothes that really make you feel amazing.
I always think it's interesting to look at the politicians. You know, as a journalist, again, we used to see the politicians. They would be in their power suits and in the studio, and then something would happen on a weekend and you had to interview them at the weekend, and it was like, we don't know how to dress down. Or you'd have a shell suit or two. Do you remember those? Or the track suit, and you think, what does a politician wear at the weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, whenever I'm looking at, you know, kind of personal brand identity and you know, the image as well too, I'm always saying with your personal brand, it has to transcend all areas of your life. So whether it's your personal life, your professional life, your social life, your community as well too, it has to be consistent. And the example I always give is, you know, if I turn up to a meeting or to a consultation, I'm maybe wearing a Hugo Boss dress. If you seen me the next day wearing a Kappa tracksuit, I lose all credibility in my role.
I have never seen you dressed down, Samara. You always turn up, show up, rock up, and you've 4 little boys as well.
4 boys, yes.
Under 10.
Under 10. Funny because whenever I started the business, so I went off to do my training in 2016. I had loved the job that I was doing, but just had fallen out of love with aspects of it. And I developed a thing called vestibular neuronitis, which was a very, very severe form of vertigo. And it resulted in me being off work for 5 months.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was a great opportunity to really, really reflect and to think, you know, how do I want my life to be? What do I want for myself? My husband at the time was the physio for the Northern Ireland football team, and he was going off to the Euros. And I was going to be at home, 2 small boys. And I remember Paul saying to me, learn to make, or, you know, pick something that you love and learn to make money from it. You know, that old cliche. Mm-hmm. And I remember doing a bit of research and thinking, I think I could do styling, but the training at that time was 10 grand. And I didn't have that kind of money. And I remember him walking out the door, I can see him as plain now, saying, I'll pay for it. Just go.
Just like that?
Just like, I don't think I ever paid him back.
What a good husband.
I know. But the reason why I'm telling you that story, I'd done the training, I come back, I confided in a friend, told her not to tell anybody. She told everybody, and I had work for a year. So I didn't have to advertise that first year. But in the interim period, I thought I would like another baby. So I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I thought, let's go one more time. Gonna get a girl. And in March 2017, I found out I was pregnant with twins.
Oh, Samara.
So I think looking back now, I mean, that changed my life. That changed everything. And it changed my confidence. It changed my resilience. It really, it tested me.
Talk me through what happened.
Well.
Were you in the tracksuit?
I was not in the tracksuit. I do have a tracksuit.
Good. Okay,
but
we'll come back to that. What way did you feel? It was just too much.
I'm not ashamed to say now, I cried. I cried for 5 months. Found out very, very early, no indication, no twins in the family, identical twins, which are what my boys are really a result of multiple pregnancies and maternal age as well too. So yes, found out sitting in the waiting room, 10 weeks pregnant, said to Paul, you know, well, whatever will be, will be. We had suffered miscarriages before we'd had our eldest. So, you know, the joy really of pregnancy is kind of lost on you at that point. We go into the room and the doctor starts to scan my tummy and says, if you can see what I can see, you're in for a shock. And what a shock it was.
In what way did Paul react?
He was delighted. I was crying my eyes out.
He could take a football team to the Euros.
I would love to take a football team to the Euros. I think for me, I was so worried about how was this going to impact my life.
Yeah.
You know, I had just...
How am I going to cope?
How am I going to cope? And
you just started your business and...
Totally. Right. It was like everything was against you. And, you know, whenever you double your family, you know, it was a change of house for us. It was 2 new cars. It was massive. But in many ways, again, whenever I reflect back, and I love reflecting back, I'm a huge advocate on self-development, and whenever I look back on that journey, I never would have done or achieved what I have achieved had it not been for the twins. You know,
why?
I think that I probably would have stayed in comfort. I think I was somebody, I mean, whenever I look back at my 2017 self, I don't even recognise her now. You know, she would have been afraid of change, and, you know, it's crazy because I have very much evolved with Evolve. But
you faced a massive life shock.
Massive.
And the resilience that came from that.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
I can do twins and a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, I can do anything.
Anything. So, you know, normal people would go, I got twins, and that's a huge life shock. I'm going to get on and live a very ordinary life. But not me. We decided then in the middle of the pandemic to build a house. So we've had quite a number of shell shocks, let's just say.
Events.
Yes.
You're through the other side. The twins are now 4 and going to school shortly.
They are.
And your eldest is now 10. So maybe, I daren't say it, but maybe, you know, you will have a bit more time to build the business now. But you've obviously built it up until this stage. But how do you feel about that, having a bit more time?
I'm excited to have, I mean, the business, I'm so fortunate, Sarah. I have never, ever lost the gratitude that I have for how much the business has grown. And obviously to serve international markets is incredible. I mean, I remember whenever lockdown was announced, and I had just come back from Milan, having done the men's styling training. And I remember thinking, I have no option for this business to sink. It has to swim. And I took everything online. It was a knee-jerk reaction, but thankfully it paid off. And I'm excited for what is to come. You know, what has happened in a very short space of time. I still see the business as being in its infancy. I think there is so many areas that I want to explore, that I need to explore. And, you know, essentially bringing that confidence to people and the ability to be themselves, and to really, how much that impacts the rest of their life. To be in a position, I feel so honoured to be part of so many people's lives.
Oh, people can't get enough of you at the minute. And as you said, throughout COVID, you did go online, but you speak regularly at that stage, on webinars, online, now face-to-face. People just want your advice, which is a fabulous position to be in. How did doing business online change your market? How did you reach these people that were then, you know, you're styling in the United Emirates?
I know, crazy. So a lot of my work, I mean, my biggest marketing tool are the people I dress. And I mean, that is just incredible.
Do you not think it's you?
It probably is a bit of me, but it's a partnership. It's a partnership.
And do the people you dress, do they say, I'm styled by Samara?
Eventually. Eventually. And it's quite interesting because it wouldn't be the first time I've maybe spoke to a business colleague and they've said, haven't seen you in ages, but I've seen your clients. So I always think that's quite interesting. But a lot of it has been word of mouth. And interestingly, I mean, I have clients in Chicago, which started off because I worked with a client who lived 10 minutes from me, and her sister lived in Chicago, and it become word of mouth. So a lot of the time it does tend to be expats. And I mean, I have clients closer to home too, Scotland, Wales, Newcastle upon Tyne, Donegal as well too. I mean, yesterday was spent speaking to lots of clients in Donegal. But the whole purpose is, you know, I want them to have access to me. And the best way for them to have done that in lockdown was for me to take my image consultancy online, my colour profiling online, the face shape analysis, the virtual shopping. I mean, everybody struggles with online shopping. But whenever they put their trust in me, I can deliver a very successful online shopping
So you have a style subscription service. Tell us about that.
The style subscription service actually came from clients who said to me, Samara, I'm working with you maybe 3-4 times a year, but I've questions in between. Would you not do a subscription service? And, everything goes in the long finger until you get to, because everything has to be prioritised, because I'm always thinking, what's an opportunity and what's a distraction in the business. Mm-hmm. And I thought, there's a massive need for this subscription service. So the subscription service, as it sits at the minute, is just about to go through another facelift. But the subscription service is really a style advice service. So, the girls, it's all females in the subscription service. They have access to a members area on my website. And every week I give them style advice via that members area. So it's individual style advice. It could be, and I pick a topic every week. So for example, this week I'm going to be talking about jewellery, I'm going to be talking about cowl necks, I'm going to be talking about alternatives to leopard print. So I pick a subject every week. Aside from the members area, they also get one-to-one styling advice from me, which is delivered either via email or via WhatsApp.
Do you have to limit numbers?
I don't have to limit numbers. At the moment, sitting inside the subscription is probably about 50.
And how much does it cost?
So it's £47 for the access to the members area.
For how long?
It's £47 a month.
A month.
£47 a month. It's about to go through a facelift, so they are going to be getting monthly webinars as well as part of their subscription, and there will be a Facebook group as well too.
So I can't get my head around how you do all of this, and you have 200 clients, but it is all about you. How do you manage your time? Talk us through the business model. What's a day in the life?
So there is never 2 days that are the same. And you know what? That's what I wanted. Whenever I decided to leave employment, I wanted freedom. I wanted freedom to be creative, I pinch myself sometimes because, like tomorrow, for example, I am off to Enniskillen and Monaghan. I am everywhere. I'm the best travelled stylist ever. So I manage my time. I do keep a good diary. I do have a PA. I do have a girl who looks after my marketing. I'm hopefully going to have somebody who's going to manage the subscription, because the subscription service is now going to be tiered. There's going to be 2 other tiers underneath the £47 to make it more accessible.
Yes, well, we are facing a cost of living crisis, I suppose.
We are,
so we're thinking ahead.
Absolutely. But I try to manage the diary really, really well. I tend to work face to face 3 days a week. But then, of course, it's never 3 days a week. It's 7 days a week, probably 15-hour days. I try to manage whenever I'm off, not normally really off, but I'm trying to manage it around the kids, because I want them very much to see that I am a working mum, and have respect for the fact that, you can have a strong female. I think that's really, really important for them to see, but I still have to be mummy, and I still have to, be available on sports days and, go and watch football and be there for their emotional needs as well.
Absolutely.
Too.
With 2 little ones starting P1, you kind of have to be there. Have you any Evolve events coming up? Because I know they're hugely popular.
Always hugely popular. Obviously, my background's events. So I'm very aware that pre-pandemic I'd done a lot of events. So I want to get back into the event side of things. I do have a virtual masterclass coming up next Friday, the 2nd of September. And again, I develop all of my services, all of my events, my masterclasses, because I listen. And I listen and I listen and I listen to what the pain points are. So the current one is, I have no idea what to buy for autumn. What can I bring into my wardrobe? How do I know what colours are going to work? How do I step outside my comfort zone? So that one I've got coming up on the 2nd of September. It's online. I obviously have a real interest in personal branding. I do a lot of one-to-one personal branding sessions, but I'm going to be offering more personal branding group work, because it's very important. Now, I am doing an event with another coach, Nicola McGuinness. She is a confidence and a career coach. So we're doing an event together on the 14th of October, specifically about personal branding, because I think more people need educated in that. And then before the end of the year, I am going to do a confidence event in the Merchant.
Wonderful. I want to sign up for that one. It's definitely a whole world that I I'm involved in as well, and it's just everywhere. Confidence is and the imposter syndrome, and how do we boost confidence? And one way absolutely to do that is about showing up and dressing the part as well. Who would you most love to dress?
This is really controversial, but I would love to dress Princess Kate.
Pourquoi?
So I did say this once in my hometown, in a coffee shop, with a royalist who was disgusted because she thought Princess Kate was absolutely stunning. She is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable, and she really nailed it in her recent trip to India. She looked incredible, and at the awards as well too, but I would love to do her off-duty look. I would like to, I mean, she's just fabulous. She has fabulous bone structure. She's really, really striking appearance. I would just like to bring her to more, I mean, I guess she can't be edgy because she's going to be the queen one day.
Well, she could.
But I would love to make her more like her 40-year-old self as opposed to looking slightly older.
Okay, controversial, but there you go. Would be fabulous, amazing experience anyway. Because she's just like a beautiful clothes horse, anyways. Everything she wears is stunning. Yeah. But yes, it would be funky her up a bit, maybe.
Absolutely.
Funky up Princess Kate. What do you do in your free time, Samara? Do you have free time?
I do have free time. So love being with the kids. Love being with Paul. We love travelling, and we're getting back to travelling now, which is amazing. Have a great group of friends. Have quite a few friends. Actually, most of my friends are from school, university.
That's lovely.
Which is lovely. So I spend a lot of time with friends, and I'm a huge advocate of self-development. So I'm an avid reader. Normally have about 6 books in the go at once.
What are you reading at the minute?
I am reading The Midnight Library.
I've seen that. I haven't read it yet. Yes, is it good?
It is brilliant. It's free on Audible right now. So I'm a little bit of a book cheat. I do listen to Audible quite a lot.
I think if you're travelling a lot, I mean, I'm loving podcasts, obviously this one, but there are others available, and they're so fabulous, aren't they? As a quick way to consume a book when you don't have the time or the concentration to read the actual text. The best self-help book you've ever read?
Oh, wow.
Or listened to?
Best self-help book. Oh, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. So it is all about exploring the dark side of your personality, so your shadow self. Oh. It is the most amazing, frustrating exercise you will ever do. So it's the side of your personality that nobody gets to see.
Do you think you have a dark side?
I think everybody has a dark side.
Right.
But it's not about trying to bring the dark into the light. It's about accepting the dark side. It is the best book that I have ever read in my life, and I reread it and reread it and reread it.
What's been the most challenging part, apart from finding out you were pregnant with twins just at that time, or maybe that was the most challenging? What would you say has been the biggest challenge setting up your own business?
I think biggest challenge, I mean, look, the pandemic was a massive challenge because, you know, everything's uncertain and life is uncertain. But I think what really got me through that is I networked very early in my business, and I was also quite lucky that I had a lot of contacts from my previous life. So
ready-made customers right there, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I had a lot of people that I could call on and that I could trust, and I could say, you know, people that you could lift the phone and say, because self-employment's lonely, especially whenever you're essentially working on your own. So yeah, I would say that lockdown was, for me, it was a challenge and a massive blessing as well too.
And if I could ask you for your top 3 style tips to anybody listening this today who wants to maybe own that personal brand, build that personal brand, just feel more confident, what would it be? What would they be?
Okay, so style tips. I would say for females, we'll go style tips for females, shall we?
Okay, we could do men as well after. So 3 for female, 3 for men.
3 for females. Go and get a good bra fitting. That is your first and foremost thing. Your underwear is essentially the foundations on which your clothes sit. So you want to know that you're wearing the right size, 80% of women are not, the right size and the right style, because essentially you can't dress properly without the right foundations.
Brilliant.
I would say particularly for women who are working online at the moment, know your necklines. Your neckline is your top line. And a styling principle really is all about the lines in your body, and the lines in your body have to be complemented through the clothes that you're wearing. So knowing that, for example, if you have a shorter neckline, that you're not wearing anything that's very, very high up, or if you have a very small bust line, that you're not wearing a really plunging V or maybe a double V. So really knowing your necklines is really, really important. And the third one, and probably for me the most important one, is understanding your lifestyle. Be honest with yourself. Where are you spending the proportion of your time? With the likes of your work, what does work look like? Are you sitting at a desk every day? Are you out meeting clients? Are you commuting? Are you walking? Outside of, how many days in work are you in work? Outside of work, what does life look like? Are you the mummy of young kids like me? What are you doing with the kids? Are you standing on a rugby pitch every Saturday morning? Really, really getting honest. And that actually stops you from having that wardrobe full of clothes with nothing to wear.
I know that feeling. Okay, the men?
Okay, so with the men, my first tip would be focus on your accessories. So really think about your belt. Think about your shoes as well too. So, don't focus on the outfit and get the outfit totally right and then forget about the finishing pieces. So, silly things like making sure that the shoes are polished, making sure that, if you're wearing trainers, that the laces don't look grubby. So really thinking about that. Number 2 would be thinking about your personal brand. So, how are you showing up? How do you want to be seen? How do you feel like you are seen? What's your overall reputation? So really nailing that down, thinking about how your clothes are an outward expression of how you're really feeling about yourself. And number 3 is don't be afraid to get creative. It's very, very easy for men to think, well, my only options, for example, for a suit are, navy or grey or, I couldn't wear a pink shirt or, all these misconceptions. Or red-headed men, I always go work with red-headed men and they say, I can only wear blue or green. And it's such a misconception. There is a world full of colour, a world full of cut opportunity out there that really you should be embracing.
I love those tips. Thank you so much, Samara. What's next for you?
Next for me is to continue to grow the brand globally. I think I'm going to start travelling as well with the brand too, starting to do more in-person stuff further afield as well. I am working on a project that I can't say too much about just right now, which is really exciting. It has been in the pipeline for 2 years. Very revolutionary. Nobody else has done it. So hopefully it will be launched in probably mid-2023. So there's always stuff going on behind the scenes. I do have a great team behind the scenes that do keep me on the straight and narrow because I can be a little bit, shiny object syndrome. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, but I love that. I love your energy.
Thank you.
And you've got to have energy and that ignites the relationships. That is what sparks that brilliance in you, and that's why people love you, Samara. The purpose of this podcast is to inspire existing business owners and ambitious entrepreneurs to grow their business by offering insight into the success of businesses such as Evolve by Samara. So the big question, what advice would you give to people who may have a business idea but have no idea where to begin or are unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking?
I would say just do it. I believe in divine timing. And I think we are very, very good at talking ourselves out and in and out and in. Just go out and do it because you will never look back. And yes, you might not end up where you thought you were going to be, but that's the beauty of it. You could end up somewhere else. This is not where I thought that I was going to be. But opportunities come. And I think that another thing that's very, very important, I've always worked with a mentor. From I went out on my own, I've always worked with a mentor. And I think it's really important to always keep a focus on, is this an opportunity or is this a distraction? So getting really, really passionate, going out, trying it. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, you're always employable. But you'll never have to go back to employment. That's the beauty of it.
Is this an opportunity or distraction? What a great place to end the Public Eye podcast. Samara, great to see you again. Thank you so much for being my guest. And you're fabulous.
Thank you. As are you.
I don't know about that. I'm going to sign up for some style tips after. Thanks very much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.